Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures where humanity always rises. Rack's core pushed his small, damaged ship through the endless darkness of space. His hands shook on the controls, and his breath came in short, sharp gasps. He could feel the engines burning too hot, but he had no choice. Behind him, in the far distance, dozens of red dots glowed on his screen. They were bounty hunters, fast, hungry, and ready to kill. Rax knew they were getting closer every second. He also knew one thing: if they caught him, he would not survive even 1 minute. So he made a choice that most people in the galaxy would call madness. He turned toward human space. The screen blared a warning as soon as he changed direction. The text flashed bright red: danger, human territory ahead. Entry not advised. Rax swallowed hard, but he did not turn back. He pushed the throttle forward. His ship sped toward the border that everyone feared. Behind him, the bounty hunters watched in confusion. They had chased criminals across nebula storms, pirate zones, dark sectors, and even black hole edges. But now they hesitated. None of them wanted to cross into human space. In the center of the hunter fleet, Captain Varian slammed his fist on the metal armrest. His scaled face twisted with anger. He is going into human territory. Why is he doing this? Is he insane? Another hunter's voice answered through the comms, shaky and low. No one goes there, Captain. We know the stories. Stories, Varan growled. Humans are just another species. Dangerous, yes, but not ghosts. But even he did not move his ship closer. All hunters remained still, forming a line at the border, engines humming but locked in place. They watched Rax's small ship approach the invisible wall that separated known space from the silent, mysterious territory of the humans. Rax looked out through the forward window. He saw nothing strange, just stars. But he felt something, like the space around him had grown heavy. It felt as if eyes were watching him from every direction. His heart thumped. He kept flying. Then it happened. A signal hit every ship, hunter ships and Rax's ship alike. It was not a normal broadcast. It did not come through normal frequencies. Instead, it simply appeared inside every speaker at the same time. The voice was calm. Too calm. Warning. You are approaching human space. Turn back now. Final notice. The hunters froze. Some reached for their weapons even though weapons were useless against the warning. Captain Varian felt sweat on his forehead. He had heard the legends, but he had never expected the voice to be real. The voice spoke again, softer this time. Enter human space, and you will not return. The message ended. Silence fell across the border. Rax shook, but he did not stop. He whispered to himself, better to face humans than hunters. He crossed the line. A soft white light passed over his ship, scanning it. He felt it, like a cold finger touching his skin. Then it vanished. Rax looked back at the hunter fleet. They did not follow. They did not move. They just stared. And he knew the truth: he was now alone in a place no alien dared to enter. The hunters began to argue among themselves. One demanded, Captain, do we follow? Another shouted, are you mad? You heard the warning. A third added, do you want us all to disappear? Varan clenched his teeth. His pride told him to chase. His survival instinct told him to stay. The second instinct won. We wait here, he said, voice tight. We do not cross. All hunters stayed exactly where they were. They watched Rax's tiny ship slowly fade into the dark as it traveled deeper into human space. Rax continued forward, heart pounding. He expected human warships to appear. He expected missiles. He expected death. But nothing happened. Space was quiet. Too quiet. His radar showed nothing. His scanners detected nothing. It felt like he had entered a void where the universe itself held its breath. Minutes passed. Still no sign of humans. Rax relaxed a little, but then a soft beep sounded from his control panel. A message appeared. It had no sender, no signature, no source. Yet it was perfectly clear. Welcome, Rax Core. Rax's eyes widened. How do they know my name? The message continued. You are safe, for now. Continue forward. Rax hesitated. How could humans know he was coming? How could they know his identity? How long had they been watching him? He felt cold. But he moved forward again because he had no other choice. Behind him, far from his view, the bounty hunters finally turned away. None of them wanted to wait near human space for long. None of them wanted to risk hearing that voice again. They left the border and returned to normal space, whispering to each other in fear. Only one thing was clear to all of them. Rax Core was gone, and no one who entered human space ever returned the same. Meanwhile, Rax flew deeper into the silent, dark territory. The stars around him felt colder. The shadows felt alive. And somewhere far ahead, something unseen watched him with great interest. His real journey had just begun. The bounty hunters gathered in a dark, floating station just outside the border of human space. The station was old, cold, and built from scrap metal, but it was a safe place for hunters to talk without fear of being monitored. Or so they believed. Captain Varan entered the meeting room with heavy steps. His scaled boots clicked loudly on the floor, and every hunter turned to look at him. Their faces showed fear, confusion, and anger. They all wanted answers about what had just happened. Varan raised his voice, trying to sound calm, even though his heart still beat too fast. We need to understand what we just witnessed, he said. Why did the humans warn us? Why did they let the target in but not us? A hunter from the back shouted, we all know why. Humans are monsters. Another hunter hit the table. No, they are not monsters. They are worse. They are unpredictable. Their voices rose with fear. Every hunter had heard stories about humans, stories whispered in dark bars, and pirate dens, and in old military camps. Stories that never made it into official records. Stories that sounded too strange to be true, yet too possible to be ignored. Varan lifted his hand. Enough. Sit down. They obeyed, though some hands still trembled. The room quieted. Then an older hunter named Jorah spoke. His voice was low and rough. You all know the old story of the Iron Moon, yes? Several hunters stiffened. They knew the story. They wished they didn't. Varan nodded slowly. Tell it. Jorah leaned back, eyes unfocused, remembering. Many years ago, a pirate fleet tried to attack a human colony near the edge of their space. They expected humans to run. But humans did not run. His voice dropped. The pirates sent 30 warships. Humans sent one. A younger hunter scoffed. Impossible. Jorah glared at him. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. The human ship didn't fire missiles. It didn't use lasers. It simply sent one warning signal. And when the pirates ignored it, he exhaled slowly. A single flash of blue light destroyed every pirate ship. No explosions. No debris. They just vanished. The room stayed silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Even Varan felt his throat tighten. He had heard versions of this tale but never from someone who claimed to witness it. Jorah continued, after that day, every bounty hunter learned one rule, do not cross into human space. But why? Another hunter asked. Why are humans so powerful? They look weak compared to most species. Exactly, Jorah whispered. They look weak. That is the danger. He explained that humans hid their strength behind silence. They did not brag about their weapons. They did not show their armies. They kept everything in the dark, guiding every enemy into a false sense of safety. But when someone threatened them, they acted with terrifying precision. Varan clenched his jaw. So we just let Rax go? He is a criminal. He stole from the Hraxian Council. We cannot let him disappear inside human territory. Would you rather disappear with him? Jorah asked quietly. Varan fell silent. Every hunter in the room remembered the warning voice. It had felt too calm, too controlled, like the humans were not scared, not angry, not emotional at all. They simply delivered a fact: enter, and you will not return. A young hunter suddenly stood up, shaking. What if the humans are protecting him? Why would they do that? What does he have that they want? The room buzzed with tension. Varan narrowed his eyes. Rax must have a reason for running there. He is not foolish. He knows the risk. What did he steal? And why run to the most dangerous place in the galaxy? No one knew the answer. But deep down, all of them felt uneasy. Hunters chased criminals everywhere. They never gave up. They never backed off. But today, they had stopped. Something stronger than fear had held them back, something that none of them understood yet. Suddenly, a small red light blinked on the table. It was a communication alert. Varan pressed the button, expecting a hunter message. Instead, a soft voice filled the room. The same voice that warned them at the border. This meeting is noted. Your questions have been recorded. All hunters froze. Some stood. One dropped their weapon in shock. The voice continued, do not attempt to follow the target. This is your final instruction. Varan's scales turned pale. How are they hearing us? This is a private station. The voice ignored him. Return to your territories. You are not permitted to approach the border again. The message ended. The hunters looked around the room in horror. Their private station had been monitored. Their secure channel was not secure. Humans had listened to every word. Jorah whispered, they can hear us anywhere, even out here. Varan slammed the table. We cannot accept this. We are bounty hunters. We do not bow to anyone. But when he stood to leave, the station lights flickered. Every screen went black for a moment. Then a message appeared on all monitors at once, do not test us. The room fell silent again. The hunters, even the bravest ones, felt a cold fear spreading through their bones. They were used to hunting monsters. But this time, they were the ones being hunted. Varan looked at the others. His voice, once strong, now shook. Fine. We stay away. We don't follow. The hunters slowly agreed. No one wanted to risk angering the humans. No one wanted to vanish like the pirates of the Iron Moon. As the meeting ended, fear hung in the air like thick smoke. They knew they had lost Rex. But something else worried them even more. If humans were this powerful, why were they so quiet? And what exactly was waiting inside their dark territory, watching, listening, and waiting for the next move? Sirach Vorn sat alone inside his small, dark ship, staring at the border of human space on his screen. The other bounty hunters had already left, fleeing like frightened animals, but Sirach did not move. His breathing was steady, his yellow eyes sharp. Unlike the others, he was not ruled by fear. He was stubborn, determined, and desperate for the bounty on Raxcor. That bounty could erase all his debts, save his ship, and restore his lost reputation. Sirach knew the risks. He had heard the stories. But he also believed there had to be a limit to human power. No species is unstoppable, he muttered. Not even humans. He tightened his grip on the controls. The moment he crossed the border, his ship shook slightly, as if passing through something unseen. A thin white light spread across the hull for a second and then vanished. Sirach frowned. So the stories were true, he whispered. There is a scan. But nothing more. He waited for an attack. Nothing happened. The hunters had been terrified for nothing, he thought. Humans were powerful, yes, but silent warnings were just tactics meant to scare weak minds. Serac smirked. Cowards. All of them. He pushed deeper into human territory. The stars around him dimmed slightly, as if the light itself did not want to follow him inside. His scanners flickered. Radar refused to lock onto anything. Every system seemed to lose clarity the deeper he went. It was like flying into fog, but in space. Still, Serac continued. Rax can't hide forever, he whispered. I will find him. Even if humans try to stop me. But as he moved farther in, a strange feeling settled on his shoulders. It felt like weight, like silent pressure pushing against his chest. He ignored it at first, thinking it was stress, but the pressure grew stronger. He checked his life support systems, they were fine. Everything was normal. Except the air felt colder. Suddenly his lights dimmed. The ship hummed with low, vibrating sound, like something massive had moved nearby. Serac's body tensed. He checked his radar. Still nothing. But he felt it. Something was close. Something big. He leaned forward, eyes narrowed, scanning the darkness outside. Then a soft voice filled the ship. It did not come from his radio. It did not come from any speaker. It came from everywhere. You should not be here. Serac's blood turned cold. He reached for his weapon out of instinct, even though it was useless. Who is this? He whispered. The voice did not answer. Instead, a shape slowly formed outside the window. At first it looked like a shadow. Then it looked like a cloud of darkness. But when it moved, Serac realized it was metal, smooth, black metal. A ship. A huge one. It had no lights, no engines, no windows. It looked like an enormous floating blade, silent and sharp. It appeared out of nowhere, as if space itself had shaped it. Serac froze. Impossible, his ship shook from the sheer size of the object. He checked his scanners again, they showed empty space. Why can't I detect it? He whispered. The shadow ship slid closer without a sound. Serac felt something watching him. Not a person. Not a crew. Something else. Something he could not describe. His heart pounded painfully inside his chest. The soft voice returned. Turn back. Serac swallowed but forced himself to stay calm. No, he said softly. I am a bounty hunter. I am following a target. The voice responded instantly, almost as if it had been waiting for his answer. We know. Raxcor. Serac's eyes widened. How do you? We know everything that enters our space. Serac felt sweat running down his spine. But his pride did not let him stop. I will find him, he said. Even if you try to stop me. The voice paused, and for a moment, Serac wondered if he had angered the humans. Then the voice said something far worse. We are not trying to stop you. We are trying to protect you. Serac's throat tightened. Protect me, from what? The voice whispered, from what waits deeper inside. Before Serac could respond, the massive shadow ship moved away, fading into darkness like a ghost slipping underwater. And then, suddenly, a bright signal appeared on his navigation screen. A location marker. A path. It pointed deeper into human space, directly toward Rax. Why are they helping me? Serac whispered. He could not trust this, he knew it. But he also knew he had no other path. His scanners were worthless. His senses were shaking. And yet the humans had given him a route. He followed it. The lights inside his ship flickered again as he traveled farther. The pressure around him grew stronger, heavier, like invisible hands pressing against the hull. Every sound felt louder. Every movement felt slower. His breath came in short bursts. But he did not stop. Hours passed like minutes. Minutes passed like hours. Then he saw something in the distance, a faint white glow. A station. A human outpost. It was small and simple, almost ordinary, but Serac felt fear rise inside him stronger than before. That outpost was where Rax had gone. And now he was going there too. As his ship approached, the voice returned one last time, calm and soft, "You still have time to turn back." Serac swallowed. "I'm not turning back." The voice answered, "Then your fate is now tied to his." The transmission ended. Serac's ship drifted toward the outpost, and the doors began to open slowly, like a mouth ready to swallow him. Whatever waited inside would change his life forever. Raxcor sat on a metal bench inside the human outpost, his hands still shaking from the long flight. The room around him was strangely quiet. It was not like other alien stations, which were filled with loud machines and blinking lights. This human outpost was clean, simple, and silent. The walls were smooth and white. The floor was dark metal. There were no visible cameras, yet Rax had the strong feeling that someone, or something, was watching him very closely. He had expected humans to arrest him the second he entered their space. He had expected guns pointed at his head, shouting soldiers, armored guards. But instead, he had been greeted by two humans who spoke softly, calmly, almost politely. That calmness scared him more than any weapons. Now he waited for them to return, and every second felt like a full hour. His breathing slowed as he tried to steady his nerves. His mind raced with questions. Why were humans helping him? Why did they let him in? What did they want? He looked around again. The room had no windows. No doors except the one he came through. And that door had sealed shut behind him with a soft hiss. Suddenly the door slid open and two humans walked in. One was tall with pale skin and short dark hair. The other was shorter, wearing a simple gray uniform. They moved with quiet confidence. No fear. No rush. Rax stood up quickly, trying to look less afraid than he felt. The tall human spoke first. His voice was calm, almost emotionless. "Welcome, Raxcor." Rax swallowed hard. You know my name." "Of course," the human said. "We knew you were coming. We knew when you crossed the border. We knew who was chasing you." Rax felt cold. How could they know so much so fast? The shorter human stepped forward. "Why did you run to human space?" Rax hesitated. The humans waited, silently, their faces unreadable. Rax knew lying to them was useless, so he told the truth. "The bounty hunters, they wanted to kill me. I had nowhere else to go." "So you came here," the tall human said. "To the one place no hunter follows." Rax nodded slowly. "Yes." The shorter human crossed his arms. "Do you know why they do not follow?" Rax shook his head. "Because," the tall human said softly, "we do not allow them to." Rax felt fear twist inside his stomach. He could not understand how humans could stop entire groups of hunters so easily. He sat down again, legs shaking. "Are you going to hand me over?" he asked quietly. "No," the tall human said. "You are safe here." Safe. The word sounded strange in Rax's ears. He had never felt safe before, not in any part of the galaxy. But here, in this cold silent room, he did not know if safety was good or terrifying. The shorter human pulled a small device from his pocket. It projected a bright hologram into the air. Rax's eyes widened. It was a full map of space, every star system, every route, every border. But the human map looked different from the maps used by other species. It was more detailed. More accurate. More alive. The tall human pointed at a glowing blue shape near the center. "This is human space. Everything inside this border is under our protection." Then he pointed at a small red dot just outside the border. "This is where we found you." The hologram zoomed in on Rax's ship, showing the exact moment he crossed the border. Rax's heart skipped a beat. They had monitored him the entire time. How long were you watching me?" he asked. The human answered calmly, "Long before you entered." Rax felt the room grow colder. The humans knew everything. They had watched everything. The shorter human changed the hologram. Now it showed the bounty hunter's meeting station. Rax stared in shock. You heard them? The tall human nodded. We hear everything near our border. Rax suddenly understood why hunters feared humans. It was not only their weapons. It was their knowledge. Their ability to listen. Their ability to appear anywhere without warning. The tall human sat across from Rax. We brought you here because you are not safe outside. The hunters will not stop searching for you. But why help me? Rax whispered. I am a criminal. The human replied, everyone who enters our space is judged by their actions here, not by their past elsewhere. Rax blinked. No species worked like that. No empire was that kind. Humans were not being kind, he knew that much. They were being careful. And that scared him more. Suddenly an alarm sounded softly. The shorter human looked at a screen that appeared out of thin air. A ship is approaching, he said. One of the bounty hunters. Rax jumped to his feet. They followed me? But they never do. The tall human said, this one is different. The screen showed Sirac's ship approaching the outpost. What will you do? Rax asked. The humans did not answer at first. Then the tall one said, we will deal with him. Rax's heart raced. Will you kill him? The human looked at him with calm, steady eyes. We do not kill unless we must. But he will not be allowed to harm you. The door opened again, and 2 more humans stepped in. Prepare to receive the visitor, one of them said. Rax stood frozen. Sirac was coming. The humans were waiting. And he was trapped between them. The tall human placed a hand on Rax's shoulder, steady but cold. Do not fear, he said. Everything that happens next is necessary. As Rax watched the humans leave the room with quiet confidence, one terrifying thought echoed in his mind. He felt safer with the humans than with the hunters, and that was the most frightening part of all. For 3 long hours, the bounty hunters waited at the edge of human space, watching the darkness ahead with tight jaws and shaking hands, and during that time not a single transmission came from the humans. Not a single light blinked on their scanners, not a single sign showed that they were even being watched, yet every bounty hunter felt it. They were not alone. Something powerful and awake was observing them from the shadows, something far more dangerous than any warship or fleet they had ever seen. Captain Roll kept glancing at his sensors even though he knew they were useless against humans, because everyone in the galaxy knew the same truth. When humans wanted to hide, their ships vanished like ghosts. And when they wanted to strike, no warning ever came before the explosion. The silence around them grew heavier until it felt like a weight pressing on their chests, and many hunters began whispering that maybe the human AI grids were tagging them, scanning their minds, learning their fears, preparing something they could not escape. Even the bravest hunters refused to move forward, gripping their controls but refusing to cross the borderline, and Roll could feel panic growing behind him like a cold tide. He tried to speak courage into his crew, telling them humans were probably ignoring them, that maybe the stories were exaggerated, but even he did not believe his own words. And every time he looked at the black empty space ahead, he felt a shiver crawl slowly up his spine, because that darkness did not feel empty, it felt aware. Meanwhile, deep inside human space, the fugitive, Lauren, sat inside the human station's medical bay, feeling more confused than terrified now, because no one had hurt him, no one had shouted at him, no one had even questioned him. Instead, the humans had simply scanned him, patched his wounds, and given him water, while the doctor with calm eyes kept saying, "You are safe here," and Lauren had no idea why humans, famous for their ruthless military power, would treat a stranger with such gentle trust. But the more time he spent inside the station, the more he noticed strange things. The walls hummed with unseen machines, doors opened before he touched them, the air felt warm and alive, and everywhere he looked he saw symbols glowing on panels that he could not read, symbols that did not feel like any language but something deeper, something older, as if the entire station had a mind of its own. Back at the border, Tension snapped when the bounty hunter Marek slammed his fist on the console and shouted that they should retreat, because no amount of money was worth entering the zone where human shadows moved without sound. Others immediately agreed, but before Roll could order anything, the silence ahead broke. A single message appeared on every screen at the same time, in every language the hunters spoke, delivered with perfect calm: "You are trespassing. State your purpose." The words were simple, but the voice behind them carried something that froze blood. It was not aggressive, but it was impossibly precise, like a mind with no hesitation and no fear. Every hunter stiffened. Some began sweating. Roll felt his throat dry up as he tried to respond, his fingers shaking over the controls. He managed to speak, his voice barely holding steady. We are bounty hunters. We are pursuing a criminal who escaped into your space." The silence returned, but now it felt worse, because they knew the humans were listening. Then the message came again, the same calm tone, but colder: "No one pursued him. You waited outside." "Why?" Those words hit like a punch. The hunters exchanged panicked glances, because the humans had not only been watching, they knew exactly what the hunters had done. Roll swallowed hard and answered with the truth no one wanted to say: because your territory is dangerous." Another long pause followed. Then the third message arrived, softer this time, almost curious: "Dangerous to whom?" That single question made every hunter's heart stop, because the humans were not asking for information, they were asking if the hunters believed humans were a threat, and everyone knew that answering wrong could be fatal. No one dared speak. Not one breath moved. And then, without warning, the darkness ahead shifted. Lights appeared slowly, forming a vast shape, and every hunter gasped as the silhouette of a colossal human warship faded into view, a ship so massive it looked like a drifting mountain, covered in glowing blue veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. But what terrified them more was not the size. It was the fact that the ship had been there the entire time, completely invisible until it chose to reveal itself. The voice returned one last time, now firm: "The fugitive is under our protection. Leave." The hunters did not argue. They fled. Hard. Engines roared, alarms blared, and in less than 10 seconds the entire fleet turned and escaped into open space, running from a single ship that had not moved, had not aimed weapons, had not threatened, because it didn't need to. Roll looked back one last time and whispered, "Gods help us." The stories were true, and inside the human station, Lauren looked at the glowing walls and whispered his own fear: "What are the humans?" But he had no idea that the real answer was even more terrifying than the bounty hunters imagined. Lauren sat on the edge of a strange metal bed inside the human station, watching the glowing lines that pulsed softly across the walls like living veins, and the longer he observed them, the more he felt they were not just lights but something aware, something that moved with purpose, something that listened. He tried to calm himself, telling his mind that he was safe now, but a deep part of him whispered that safety inside human space was never simple, because humans did everything differently. From the rest of the galaxy. A tall human woman with dark hair stepped into the room, her movements quiet and confident, and she introduced herself as Commander Hale, her voice steady but carrying a weight that made Lauren straighten immediately, as if obeying instinct rather than manners. She studied him for a moment, not with suspicion but with a strange kind of focus, as if she could read the truth behind his eyes without him speaking a word. When she asked why bounty hunters were after him, Lauren hesitated, thinking humans might force him to confess, but Hale simply crossed her arms and said softly, "You are safe here. But we need to understand the risk." That tone, calm yet absolute, made him speak. He told her everything, how he had escaped his homeworld after learning the Dominion planned to wipe out 3 neutral species, how he had stolen evidence, how he had run for his life for months, how he had chosen human space because no one dared follow him there. As he spoke, Hale did not interrupt once, she only nodded slowly as if she already expected this. When he finished, she tapped a small device on her wrist, and the walls around them shifted subtly, the glowing veins brightening for a brief moment before dimming again, and Hale explained that the station had already analyzed his words, cross-checking them with his voice stress, heart rate, neural pattern, and microfacial signals, and it had confirmed he was telling the truth. Lauren needed a moment to absorb that. The station analyzed him? The walls listened? What kind of place was this? Meanwhile, outside the station, deep in the heart of human space, the massive warship that had revealed itself earlier began transmitting to the nearby outposts using encrypted signals, and every station received the same message: foreign vessels detected at border. Passive response engaged. Continue monitoring. The humans did not appear alarmed, they did not scramble fleets or activate defenses, and yet every surveillance system, every listening node, and every silent watcher hidden in the dark began shifting their attention toward the border where the bounty hunters had fled. Back inside, Hale asked Lauren what the Dominion planned, and his voice shook as he described the weapon they were building, a device capable of erasing entire civilizations in seconds, a device powered by stolen star cores. Hale's expression did not change, but Lauren felt the air in the room grow colder, as if the station itself reacted to the information. He expected anger, fear, maybe panic, but instead Hale simply said, "We will deal with it." Those 4 words made Lauren freeze. There was no hesitation. No discussion. No fear. It was as if humans had already solved far worse problems, and this new threat was just another task on a long list. Hale then asked something that made Lauren's heart thump, "And why did you think we would help you?" Lauren swallowed, looking down. "Because everyone says humans don't tolerate injustice. And because bounty hunters fear you more than they fear death." Hale's lips curved into the faintest, coldest smile. "They fear what they do not understand." She turned to leave, but when she reached the door, she paused and added, "And they understand very little." The door opened for her automatically, and as she walked out, Lauren decided to follow her. He could not sit in silence any longer. They stepped into a long hallway with transparent walls that showed the vast dark expanse of human space. Strange shapes drifted in the distance, massive structures like floating towers, silent drones shaped like wings, glowing rings spinning slowly around black spheres. Lauren had never seen technology like this. Nothing in the galaxy looked like human engineering. Hale noticed his stare and said, "Everything you see is old. Much older than this station. We keep some things active for observation." Lauren felt a chill. Old? If these terrifying machines were old, what were humans building now? Before he could ask, an alarm pulsed softly in the hallway, not loud, not urgent, but enough to make Hale check her wrist device. Her eyes narrowed. "A signal," she murmured. "From the border watchers." Lauren waited nervously until Hale spoke again. "The bounty hunters are not retreating. They are gathering reinforcements." His heart dropped. "They're coming back?" Hale shook her head slowly. "No. Someone else is coming with them. Someone powerful." The glowing veins in the walls brightened again, pulsing faster now, as if the station itself sensed danger. Lauren felt his breath quicken. "Who?" Hale turned toward him with eyes colder than space. "A Dominion strike fleet." Lauren's knees nearly buckled. He whispered, "No, they wouldn't dare enter human space." Hale did not blink. "Then they are about to make the biggest mistake of their lives." And as she spoke, the shadows beyond the transparent wall began to shift. Something massive was waking up in the darkness. Something human. Lauren pressed his hands against the transparent wall as the darkness outside the human station began to shift, not like ships moving through space, but like something enormous stretching after a long sleep, and he felt a cold wave go through his entire body because nothing in the galaxy moved like that, nothing except the kinds of machines only humans built. Commander Hale watched without fear, her expression calm as the glowing veins in the walls brightened and the station's hum deepened, almost like a heartbeat waking up. A moment later a deep vibration passed through the floor, gentle but powerful, and Lauren knew they were no longer alone. Something huge was rising from the dark, slowly revealing itself. At first it looked like a shadow, a massive shape drifting silently, but then faint blue lights flickered across its surface, outlining long armored plates, gigantic thrusters, sharp fins, and a towering central spine that made the whole structure look like a sleeping titan. Hale spoke with quiet certainty, "A Sentinel-class Guardian. We keep them dormant unless needed." Lauren stared speechless, because Sentinel-class ships were a rumor, a myth told in smugglers' bars and military bunkers, stories of human war machines so powerful that entire fleets disappeared when one awakened. And now one was waking right in front of him. The structure's lights grew brighter until the entire ship glowed like a rising moon, and then a deep metallic voice rumbled across the station, "Status request." Hale touched her wrist device and simply replied, "Border breach imminent. Dominion fleet approaching." The Titan answered with a single word, "Understood." Lauren felt the breath leave his lungs. Humans did not shout. Humans did not panic. Humans did not threaten. They simply acted. Meanwhile, far outside the border, the Dominion fleet was forming up, rows of warships with red hulls and sharp wings, carriers holding fighters, heavy cruisers armed with Starcore cannons. The bounty hunters who had fled earlier were hiding behind the Dominion ships, watching nervously and muttering that this time humans would not dare attack a full strike force. But deep inside their hearts, every bounty hunter feared they were wrong. The Dominion commander, a tall reptilian officer named Varric, stood on his bridge with a confident sneer, convinced humans were overrated, convinced their territory was only protected by fear, not real power. He believed the stories of humans destroying fleets were exaggerated myths, and he fully expected to march straight into human space, capture the fugitive, and leave without any trouble. But as his fleet crossed the borderline, every screen on his ship flickered. Every radar froze. Every signal died. And a cold voice spoke in every language at once, "You are entering restricted territory." Varric snarled and ordered his comms officer to shut the message off, but before the officer could respond, the lights dimmed and the voice returned, louder this time, "Turn back." Varric laughed, proud and foolish. "Human tricks," he said. "Push forward." The fleet advanced. Back in the station, Hale received a silent update from the border watchers, and she turned to Lauren, her expression unreadable. "They crossed," she said. Lauren felt sick. Will you attack them?" Hale shook her head slowly. "No. The Sentinel will." The giant ship outside the window ignited, its engines flared with white-blue fire so bright that Lauren covered his eyes, and when he looked again, the massive Guardian moved forward with impossible speed for a ship its size, like a giant diving through water. Hale walked down the hallway as alarms flashed gently around them, though none of the alarms sounded panicked, they were simply informing. "Come," she said. "You should see what happens when someone ignores our warnings." Lauren followed her reluctantly to an observation deck where a holographic display flickered to life, showing the border in real time. The Dominion fleet appeared as red lights, tightly packed and confident. Then a single blue icon appeared in front of them, the Sentinel. The Dominion commander ordered his ships to fire, and dozens of bright beams shot toward the blue icon. But the beams never hit. They bent. They curved away. They evaporated as if swallowed by space itself. Lauren gasped. Hale remained calm. "Human shielding technology isn't like anything they've seen," she said. The Dominion fleet fired again, this time launching missiles, torpedoes, plasma bombs, yet everything vanished the moment it neared the Sentinel, absorbed by invisible forces. Varric shouted orders in panic now, realizing something was wrong, but before he could retreat, the Sentinel spoke again, its voice echoing through every channel, "Final warning." Varric ignored it. So the Sentinel acted. A single pulse of white-blue light erupted from the ship, silent and blinding, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. When the glow faded, half the Dominion fleet was gone, not destroyed, not burning, simply erased. Varric's flagships panicked and turned around so fast that smaller ships collided with them. The bounty hunters fled first, screaming that they should never have come. Hale watched the hologram without emotion. "Predictable," she said. Lauren stared in horror. This is only one ship?" Hale nodded. "One old ship." Lauren swallowed hard. "Then what are the new ones like?" Hale looked at him with a calm that was almost frightening. "If the Dominion keeps coming, you'll find out." And somewhere deep in human space, other giants began to wake. Lauren stood frozen on the observation deck as the hologram continued updating, showing the Dominion fleet retreating in chaotic panic after the Sentinel-class Guardian erased half their ships in a single silent blast. And even though he had already seen more terrifying power than he ever imagined, he knew deep inside that the situation was far from over. Commander Hale remained calm, almost too calm, as she walked toward the central console and tapped a few commands, causing the hologram to zoom out and reveal a wider area of human space. Lauren noticed small glowing dots scattered in distant regions, many of them blue, some white, and a few blinking slowly with red-orange pulses, and each one looked like a dormant giant waiting for a signal. Lauren felt a chill and asked in a shaky voice, "Are those more Sentinel ships?" Hale glanced at the display and said softly, "Some. Others are older. Much older." Lauren wanted to ask what older meant, but before he could speak, an alarm flashed, not loud, not frantic, but firm, drawing Hale's attention. The hologram zoomed again, and both of them watched as behind the Dominion fleet, deep in warp space, new red signals began appearing. But these signals were different. They pulsed in a formation too tight, too disciplined, moving with perfect synchronization. Hale's eyes narrowed. "Ah. So the Dominion still believes they can intimidate us." Lauren felt his stomach twist. "Who are they now?" Hale answered simply, "Their High Command." That made Lauren's blood run cold, because the Dominion High Command never intervened in normal battles. They only appeared when they wanted to crush something permanently. The new fleet exited warp at the border, forming a wall of colossal warships with armored spines, rotating cannon arrays, and black-red engines burning like angry suns. Lauren had never seen such a force. The bounty hunters, who were still scattered around the earlier battle zone, began running even faster, some abandoning ships, others leaving messages begging for human mercy, but Hale barely looked at them. She only watched the Dominion High Command ships spreading out with slow confidence, as if they believed their size alone could scare humans into surrender. "They don't learn," Hale said softly. Lauren whispered, "What will they do now?" Hale tilted her head slightly. "They'll demand we hand you over. They think we fear them." Lauren shook his head in disbelief. "But you have the Sentinel, don't they know what it just did?" Hale smiled faintly. "They think it was our strongest ship. They don't understand it was one of our smallest guardians." Lauren felt dizzy. Before he could speak again, every screen across the human station flickered as a message came through, not from the humans, but from the Dominion High Command. The face of Admiral Kor, the Dominion's most feared military leader, appeared. He was a huge reptilian creature with metallic implants across his shoulders and burning yellow eyes full of arrogance. His voice thundered, "Human station. You will return the fugitive to us immediately, or we will destroy everything within your borders." Lauren's heart pounded. Hale didn't even blink. She tapped her wrist device once, and her calm voice replied, "Request denied." Kor snarled. "This is not a negotiation." Hale replied, "We don't negotiate." The Admiral's eyes flared with outrage, and he gestured sharply. His fleet shifted into attack positions. Lauren backed away from the hologram instinctively, but Hale remained still. "Their mistake," she murmured, "is thinking they are the only ones watching." Suddenly the station's walls brightened, the glowing veins pulsed faster, the hum grew louder, and the air itself felt charged. Lauren looked around nervously. "What is happening?" Hale answered without turning. "The deep network is waking up." Before he could ask what that meant, the view outside the transparent wall changed. Not one. Not two. But 7 massive human warships emerged from the darkness like giants rising from the ocean floor. They appeared without engines flaring, without noise, simply phasing into visibility as if they had been cloaked by space itself. Lauren gasped. These ships made the Sentinel look small. They were bigger, darker, sharper, each one shaped differently, built for roles he could not even guess. The Dominion High Command hesitated for the first time. Kor shouted new commands, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. Hale watched with quiet satisfaction. "They thought the Sentinel was a threat," she said. They haven't met the Ark ships. Lauren stared at the 7 Titans as their lights activated, deep blue cores glowing like stars trapped inside metal shells. Small symbols lit up along their surfaces, forming patterns that Lauren didn't recognize, but he felt them, like the ships were alive. The Dominion admiral finally ordered his ships to fire, and thousands of red beams and missiles shot toward the Ark ships. But before the attacks could hit, the space around the human ships rippled, like water-absorbing stones, and the attacks vanished, leaving no light, no heat, no explosion. Lauren stared in shock. Hale explained softly, "We don't block attacks. We swallow them." Then the Ark ships acted. They did not fire weapons. They simply pulsed with white-blue energy, and the moment the pulse washed across the battlefield, every Dominion ship froze. Engines shut down. Weapons powered off. Shields collapsed. Core screamed orders, but his fleet would not move. Hale turned away from the window and said calmly, "They should have stayed out." Outside, the Dominion High Command realized too late that they were trapped inside a human stasis field, one they could not break, outrun, or understand. Lauren whispered, "What will you do to them?" Hale's answer was simple and terrifying, "Whatever we decide." And somewhere deeper in human space, even larger shadows began to drift, as if something far older than the ships was waking too. Lauren stood on the observation deck, his eyes wide as he watched the Dominion High Command fleet frozen in the stasis field created by the massive Ark ships. And even though he had witnessed the Sentinel erase half a fleet and now 7 Titans holding an entire strike force motionless, he still could not comprehend the scale of human power, because every time he thought he understood it, the humans revealed something far beyond imagination, something older, more precise, more terrifying. Commander Hale stood beside him, calm as always, her fingers resting lightly on her wrist device, controlling the station and monitoring the Ark ships, but there was no fear in her eyes, only patience. She spoke softly, almost like a teacher explaining something obvious. "The Dominion has made 2 mistakes. The first was underestimating us. The second was underestimating the fugitive." Lauren swallowed hard. "Me? I'm just a criminal," he whispered. Hale turned her piercing gaze on him. "You are not just a criminal. You hold information that could change the balance of power in this galaxy. That makes you dangerous. That makes you valuable. That makes you under our protection." Lauren felt a shiver run through him. Dangerous? Valuable? He had only run for his life, and now humans treated him like he was a key to the future of the galaxy itself. Outside, the Dominion Admiral Corps barked orders in panic, but his ships would not respond. The stasis field held firm, invisible, unstoppable. He tried to fire weapons manually, launch fighters, adjust trajectories, nothing worked. Every weapon failed as if the humans had reached into the ship's systems and controlled them without touching anything. Lauren's heart pounded as he realized humans could manipulate entire fleets like toys. Hale gestured to the hologram, and the frozen ships rotated slowly, as if the Ark ships were examining them, observing them, judging them. "What are you going to do to them?" Lauren asked, voice trembling. Hale's voice was calm, almost casual. "Decide whether they live, and what they remember when they leave." Lauren froze. She did not mean destroy. She meant something far worse, to let them leave, but changed, broken in ways that could terrify anyone who saw them again. The thought made his stomach twist. Meanwhile, across the station, soft vibrations pulsed through the floor, walls, and ceiling, echoing in Lauren's chest like a heartbeat that was too large, too slow, too strong for a single human to produce. Every living creature inside the station felt it, though none reacted outwardly, because the humans had taught everyone to stay calm. But Lauren's mind raced. He could feel the pulse in his bones. Something ancient, something massive, was awake and aware. A hum filled the station, low and deep, vibrating through every corridor, every panel, every hidden system. Lauren looked at Hale. What is that?" She smiled faintly, coldly. "That is the core. The center of human space. The reason no one dares cross our borders without permission." Lauren's breath caught. Core? Hale nodded. It watches. It listens. It decides. And it has never been wrong. He could hardly breathe. All his life he had run from hunters, from empires, from death, but he realized in that moment that humans did not rely on fleets alone. They had something older, smarter, and infinitely more terrifying. The Dominion fleet shuddered under the stasis, and every ship's AI flickered in confusion, as if aware that the humans were observing them through eyes they could not see, calculating consequences they could not imagine. Lauren whispered, "So even if they survive, they'll never be the same again?" Hale nodded slowly. "By the time they leave, they will remember our mercy as fear, and our patience as judgment. That is the way humans maintain order." Lauren tried to comprehend the scale. "So, you don't just fight? You don't just destroy? You change minds?" Hale's eyes held his. "We correct what threatens us, but we rarely destroy unless we must. Destruction is final. Change is eternal." Lauren swallowed hard as the Ark ships moved slowly around the frozen Dominion fleet, scanning, pulsing, shifting, like titans awakening from the shadows of the galaxy to inspect something insignificant yet dangerous. Then the stasis field began to pulse in waves, gentle at first, then stronger, then violently, shaking the Dominion ships, forcing them to realign, to see the humans as rulers, not equals. Lauren could hear muffled screams from his own sensors. The Dominion commanders shouted orders that could not be obeyed. Lauren felt sweat run down his face. Hale's voice broke the tension, calm as ever. "The final lesson is about respect. They will survive, but only if they understand it." He realized she did not mean diplomacy. She meant control. She meant dominance without destruction. He had never felt power like this before, even in legends. The core pulsed faster, the Ark ships glowed brighter, and the humans in the station remained perfectly calm, observing, judging, waiting for the right moment. Lauren knew, deep in his bones, that he had crossed a line that few in the galaxy ever dared to cross. Humans were not just another species, they were the arbiters of life, the judges of the stars, and the shadows now moving in the darkness were far older, far smarter, and far more terrifying than anything he had imagined. And as the Dominion fleet froze, trapped, and waiting for the humans' decision, Lauren realized the truth: the universe had changed. Human space was no longer a boundary, it was a sentence. And the galaxy would never forget it. The Dominion fleet hovered frozen under the invisible stasis field, red lights flickering weakly against the overwhelming blue-white glow of the Ark ships, and Lauren stood on the observation deck, trembling as he realized that for the first time in his life, he was witnessing true power, not a fight, not destruction, but absolute control, the kind that did not need weapons or explosions to terrify an entire army into silence. Commander Hale stood beside him, calm as ever, her eyes fixed on the Dominion fleet, and her fingers danced lightly over her wrist device, sending unseen commands through the core, through the Ark ships, through every hidden mechanism within human space. "They still do not understand," she said softly. Lauren swallowed hard. "Understand what?" Hale did not look at him. "That we are not like any species they have ever faced. That we do not react the way they expect. That power is meaningless if it is not precise and controlled." The Dominion Admiral Coarse voice bellowed from his flagship, screaming orders that could not be obeyed, but the stasis held, and every pilot, every weapon, every system froze, powerless under the human judgment that had descended silently upon them. Lauren's stomach churned as he watched the Ark ships move with impossible coordination, scanning, observing, analyzing every Dominion vessel, every hull plate, every weapon system, as if deciding the fate of each one individually. Then a single pulse of blue-white light emanated from the Ark ships, spreading outward like ripples across a pond, subtle at first, but growing in strength, touching every ship, every crew, every mind in the frozen fleet. And Lauren could see the terror in their movements even though their bodies could not move, could feel the realization hitting them that humans were not just another power, they were the law of the stars itself. Hale spoke calmly to Lauren, "We do not destroy unless necessary. We do not kill unless it cannot be avoided. But we correct mistakes." Lauren's heart raced. Correct mistakes? Hale nodded slowly. Those who enter human space uninvited, those who threaten life, those who defy reason, they will leave knowing their error. They will live, but they will never forget the judgment they witnessed. The core pulsed, the station walls vibrating like the heartbeat of a living giant, and the Ark ships adjusted their positions, forming a perfect formation around the Dominion fleet, a display of silent dominance that made Lauren's blood run cold. From the hologram, he could see the Dominion ships begin to twitch slightly, systems slowly reactivating under the pressure of human precision, but every ship now bore the invisible mark of the core, every crew member carrying in their mind the silent knowledge that humans were not only watching, they were measuring, analyzing, controlling, and deciding who would live and who would suffer consequences without a single shot being fired. Lauren felt fear and awe swirl together inside him as Hale spoke again. By the time they leave, they will respect us. They will tell the story to every species they know. That is enough. And then, almost imperceptibly, the stasis field loosened just enough for the Dominion ships to move, but not freely. Their engines groaned, their weapons hummed weakly, and they slowly began to retreat, leaving the border of human space, carrying with them memories of power that would haunt them forever, unable to tell if humans had acted or if the universe itself had judged them. Lauren exhaled shakily. He had never imagined mercy could feel like punishment, fear could feel like respect, and silence could weigh heavier than any explosion, but now he understood. Humans wielded control in ways the galaxy could never anticipate. Hale turned to him, her eyes calm yet piercing, and said, "You are safe. For now. Your life belongs to your choices, and your choices brought you here." Lauren nodded, speechless, feeling both gratitude and terror, realizing that he owed his life to a species whose full power he could not even comprehend. Outside, the Ark ships returned to their dormant positions, blending into the darkness of space, the glowing vanes dimming, the massive war machines becoming statues once more, waiting, watching, always ready. The core pulsed slowly, evenly, like a heartbeat returning to rest, and Lauren knew that the humans were no longer just defenders of territory, they were judges, guardians, and arbiters of the galaxy itself. He looked back one last time at the Dominion fleet, retreating in disarray, crews shaken, Admiral Core cursing the name of humans for the first time in his life, and Lauren understood something he could never unsee. The galaxy had shifted forever. Humanity was no longer a species to fear simply for strength, but for precision, intelligence, patience, and the terrifying ability to control life and death without lifting a single weapon. And as he turned to Hale, who led him toward a secure chamber where he would rest, he realized the final, chilling truth: he had survived, not because he was clever, not because he fought well, but because he had stepped into the orbit of the most powerful force in the galaxy, a force that judged silently, acted decisively, and never forgot. Somewhere deep in human space, the Ark ship settled, the core pulsed gently, and the universe, for the first time, knew that humans had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. Lauren sat down, exhausted, terrified, and aware that tomorrow, if he left this station, he would carry the memory of that judgment with him forever, and the galaxy would carry the story of humans, the species that turned fear into law and silence into the ultimate weapon. And as the lights dimmed and the station hummed softly, he understood that in the endless dark between stars, humans had become the impossible, the inevitable, and the unknowable, and nothing, not Dominion, not bounty hunters, not anyone, would ever challenge them the same way again.